Obviously, from my perspective, I don't think so. I think that, looking back, I probably underestimated probably the strength of the majority of the teams. I think that a team, if guys looked at, like, say, Newcastle and Edinburgh, and even Dundee, which we saw glimpses of last year, I think they all strengthened a wee bit. I mean, and we struggled, but that was something as a group we discussed. We knew that our British guys would struggle to make the adjustment, but we had faith in them that they would be able to. And I think that, when you go with limited amounts of imports, we were always up against it. Not because our imports were good enough. I think you've probably seen that these guys are probably up there with the top imports in the league, if not, the best in some regards. I think Zemlak and Hamilton and Cohen all got players of the week, for outstanding performances. And I think from, dipping our toe into the elite league, I think that sometimes you can get sucked into, the budgets of, like, the Nottinghams, the Sheffields and stuff like that. And we've seen some teams trying to keep up that are now currently in some money troubles. And you saw some teams get into some severe money troubles last year. So as some of these teams are starting to shed imports and cut salaries and plead for people to come in, we've now been in an opportunity to strengthen. Now we've assessed what our local guys can do. We've assessed that we need a bit of help. We brought some guys in. These guys, through discussions have kind of allowed me to go out and get some players to make this team better. And I think that if we didn't give our local guys a chance and just had 6 or 7 or 8 of them fighting for the odd spot in the third line, we probably might not have seen what Stephen McAlpine can do. Even David Wilson, I think, struggled at the start of the season, but if you guys were there last weekend, probably had his best weekend of the season, and it's something that he wouldn't be in an opportunity to be jumping into that spot if we didn't have those open. So it's been frustrating to a certain degree. Probably the low point was Bray Head when we got beat 10-1. That was our, to this point, our only double-digit defeat. And that was consistently happening to some teams in the Elite League last year. So that was a goal to stop that. Unfortunately, they managed to do that against us. So I don't think I changed a great deal. Maybe we would have drilled in some of the systems we've introduced in the last month that have made us successful early on. But it's a learning process, and that's something that we've gone for. So it's been a tough road, but I think that some of the results lately have been certainly positive from a coaching perspective. So hopefully we can build on that.
Anybody like to come back at top? On the director, sorry? That's the playing side, from your own point of view.
Thanks, folks, for coming on tonight. Can I say that basically when we started this Elite League campaign, I was really taken aback by the quality and the standard of the hockeys we played. The first few games I thought, we're Thornton, Hibs playing the Rangers at the Celtic. But you can see how we've come on, and we've all come on in leaps and bounds now. Okay, it's coming to near the second half of the season, but we're going places. Our intention when we first started was going to be give the local kids the right to play. Now, when we first started taking the Flyers over many years ago, that was always our objective, was for the local kids to have someplace to go and play for the Flyers, play for the ship. And that hasn't changed, because we've got a good junior development and there will be a lot of local kids coming up. So really that's how I look at it, is that we're a local team and we hope to keep it a local team and get much better.
Well, as Jack says, our intention at the start of the season was to take it easy. bed in, give the local guys a chance to come up to the standard that pays, give them an opportunity to develop, if you like, into the league, and we've done that. We set aside the first 2 months of the season for that in particular, and I think that's been the right thing to do. I have no regrets about that at all. And I don't think we're there making up numbers anymore. We've already, as Todd said, got teams getting rid of imports because they've run out of money.
Yes, I appreciate
And I think
that.
that's a huge mistake for them, but good for us. And no, I don't regret
It's just,
it.
I'm thinking along the level of the players' income at £6,000 that we're losing. I thought at the beginning of the season when we had the momentum going, when all the fans were there, you know, I think it was an opportunity that we missed, not adding quicker so we can try and keep these fans coming.
Yeah, but I think that's the fundamental mistake a lot of the teams make, is they go out and spend money to bring people in and it doesn't work. It doesn't work in the long term, it works in the short term. And we're not there for the short term. We're there to try and build a long-term competitive team. And as far as I'm concerned, I think we all agree we're on track for that.
Oh yes, I appreciate that. I mean, if they said to me if we can get the playoff place, I'd been delighted at the beginning of the season.
No, I don't regret that at the moment. At the end of the season is the time to go back and reflect on all that. Not at the moment.
I mean, wage demands are wage demands, you know what I mean? Like, you're not forced into signing anybody. I mean, I have a wish list of players I would love, but, you know, you look at costs versus what you're getting, and it has to be realistic. I mean, we have young guys that you know, probably, you know, are playing hockey because they love it, you know what I mean? And as soon as a player is just playing for a wage, I mean, don't get me wrong, we have imports that are in that are playing for a wage, but they wouldn't come in and play for 40 minutes week in and week out if they didn't love it as well. And that was the biggest part for me, was finding the right guys. That, like, we came in June, I think Nottingham had already had their whole team signed, and we were trying to put a club together. But we took our time, we found the right individuals, and I already knew all the British guys that we had, you know, and we targeted Kyle, and he'd be considered, you know, maybe not like the top British D-man. Like, some of these guys are awful good now. Some have gone to North America and play, and they're well. But I mean, that doesn't mean that you have to, you know, commit to huge salaries. You know what I mean? Like, you offer a player what you think he's worth, and you make it sustainable for your team. So certainly, because once the players start running the team, that's when it gets into a little bit of disarray. You know, in my opinion.
It's interesting that you mentioned Belfast and Nottingham, who are two teams who do nothing to develop players, and they've got a problem getting players. Belfast you can understand because it's a relatively new club, except we've been playing in Ireland for what, 10 years now? Mm-hmm. So they've had 10 years to bring kids through, which is how long it takes. They've done nothing to bring kids through, so they're having to buy them in, they're having to house them, they're having to provide everything for them, so it's expensive for them. We don't have that problem. Our problem is we are keeping Dundee, Braehead and Edinburgh going, as well as Fife. They've all got 5 players. So the problem's the other way around for us. They have a problem because they don't want to take the time to bring kids on. Whereas that's been done for us here. Because we take nothing to do with the junior development system, it just keeps churning guys out. And has done for 30 years. So for us, that's not the issue. For them, I think it is an issue. And I think they pay British players figures that you wouldn't believe. And it's just done.
Sure, that's been the problem since Sheffield came into this league in 1991.
It's a problem a lot of the arena teams because they're not run by people who have an inherent interest in ice hockey. They're people who are running it to try and make money. Well, not as a business, because Sheffield's been bust how many times? Cardiff, Belfast. Yeah, but joke. I mean, how many of these teams have survived right through? The only one who has survived right through unscathed is Nottingham. It's the only team. Guildford.
So what would your ideas be of trying to make this league more sustainable?
My ideas are easy. I think the Heineken platform was the best platform. It got the biggest crowds. It was sustainable. It worked for what, I think, best part of 15 years. But I don't see us getting back to it.
So how would you persuade somebody like Neil Black that that would be the model to go to? Or at least reduce the model that we have now?
You can't. He's, it's a polite way of putting it, he's unorthodox in his thinking. Because he's got a successful business, he's not inclined to change it at all. And he has got a successful business, got a tremendous business.
And do you think it's to our advantage that there's an equal amount of ranked teams now in the league to arena teams? You know, that might sway the balance towards the smaller teams.
There's never been, as far as I can make out, a league which has had a mix of rink and arena teams that's succeeded for any length of time. They tried it when Wembley first opened in the 50s, they tried it in the 70s, they tried it with the Super League. It's never worked because the arena teams and the rink teams have completely different business models. It's very difficult to get them all to work together because the arena teams can spend big money and the rink teams just can't. So for the two to run together is very difficult.
And from a coaching point of view, Todd, how would you like the league to progress? What would your ideal future for the league would be?
I think that Fife is pretty adaptable. I think that this season, it goes back to not the professionalism, but it was almost like our preparedness. You know, when we were in the BNL, we had the whole support group and everything around us. We had very experienced Brits. We had the likes of Stephen King and Derek King, and Kyle Horn was coming through, and Wishart and Finley and Venters, and the whole system, as Tom alluded to earlier, was running pretty smoothly, and we could adapt to whatever league we were playing in. We played in the BNL. We started going to the crossover. Very successful at home against the crossover teams. Started to beat them, and so for us, I mean, we can adapt to most circumstances. I just like to see certainly something that's sustainable, something that we don't have to change or discuss in the summer where we're going, what league we're going to be in. And I think that maybe over the last 5 years, certainly to get to know the group of kids that we've brought through, I'm very defending of them. I know the hard work that they put in. I know the flack that they've taken through, not a lot of their fault. They're just kids who wanted to play hockey, and now some of them are trying to prove themselves in the big scene. Some of them are finding it difficult. Some of them are flourishing. So I'll adapt, and I know the guys will adapt to whatever situation. It's just something that I'd like to see, something that's just continuous, and we come in and we don't have to worry about, all the little issues, and just have something that people can look forward to, guys can look forward to, and build their careers around. So, but it's finding that magical, sustainable league that has really eluded Britain for a number of years now. I think so. I mean, well, one of the guys is we've already mentioned his name 2 or 3 times, is Kyle Horn. He came back, and my big thing is, and I was a professional player from Winnipeg, who left to ply his trade, and I never went back to Winnipeg. That's kind of the way I look at it. Like if somebody leaves Fife, there's players out there I'd be delighted to have back, but they have to want to be in Fife. That's my biggest. I don't want to have to dangle a carrot to get a guy back. I'd love to have some players back, but they have to have the pride in the organization, because that's when you get the best out of these players, you know what I mean? I think that I have no problem with players going out there and making money, and because this is a business just like anything else for some folk. But certainly, there's players I'd love to attract back, and I think that there may be a possibility. However, you know, we got to look to the future as well, and you know, I mean, a year or two in this league, you start developing guys. I think that you guys haven't seen much of Josh Schoon, but from the spindly little kid 2 or 3 years ago, he's come out and he's got a couple points in this elite league, and he's sitting there. He's got a great attitude, not moaned once on the bench. And I know that's like some of our top Brits. They did that back in the day when we had some really good imports over here, and they learned off them. This is a learning process for some of these guys. These guys might be, you know, our stars of the future. We kind of got to stick with them. But yeah, I'd love to have some guys back.